Hello everyone, welcome back to another series of podcast. I am Chandan Palwar from Grow Junction. I welcome you all to an insightful, designing focused podcast that is again powered by Grow Junction. Today we have one designer by mind, by designation with all of us, Mr. Uh, Himanshu Jani. He's currently serving as a senior manager in product design at Oyo company. He's having 12 plus years of designing experience at corporates, giving lucrative solutions to enhance the look appeal of companies' products for higher revenue generation and customer acquisition. He has completed his Bachelor's of Engineering in Computer Science from Kolkata. Now, let's unite together and have Mr. Himanshu on board with all of us.
Hey Chandan, thank you so much for this brief introduction, and thank you so much for inviting in the podcast. I checked out your previous podcast, and I really loved your energy. Sometimes it's really appreciable. So,
Thank you so
and
much, sir. It's my pleasure, to host you currently because, it feels a great opportunity, although to have this opportunity to host a designer altogether. So before we begin this podcast, I'm sure most of us would love to hear about your introduction. Where do you come from, and how it all started? How the designing journey started?
mhm. Sure, sure. I will tell you briefly, but I will cover my entire journey in very short time.
Absolutely,
Uh, so I come from Udaipur. It's in Rajasthan, popular as a city of lakes, and it's very beautiful city. And
absolutely.
I did my college here only. And actually, we were having a C and a C++ programming language in my third semester.
Okay,
And one day I was designing graphics in C language using various shapes like square, rectangle, ellipses. So
okay,
one of my cousin who was in same field, who was quite senior to me, he noticed that and he was quite surprised. Ki, how can you design so elegantly line art in C? So why don't you join any design course? So I was completely unaware ki such kind of design course were available because I came to Udaipur from my native place, which is a small village in Dungarpur area. And then next day I went to Arena Animation and I found out the cheapest course there for designing. And I learned Photoshop Flash and Dreamweaver there to start my journey in web designing. So just after my college, I joined a very small company.
okay,
So we were having four people in that company. One was designer, which was I, one developer, and one tester, and fourth was the owner of the company.
okay,
So after spending few months, then I switched back to another similar service-based company. And my initial 5 to 6 years, I spent most of my time on service-based company. And in 2015, I joined Car Deco. It's
okay.
headquartered in Jaipur, and where there I learned all minor details about the UX and how it impacts user, and how well you should know your user before directly jumping to your design things.
Okay.
So after spending couple of years in Cardeco, and in 2020 I joined Oyo as a senior product designer, and currently I am serving here as a, senior manager in product design, and really loving work here. The way design people work here and the overall organization culture here, it's really appreciable, and I'm enjoying my time. So I
Wow.
think this was
I think
so.
I think this is quite interesting to hear about you. Your journey is from such a small company in which employees are the strength of the company is four people, and to a
Sure.
unicorn startup that is Oyo. So I think
Yeah.
this is somewhat a great inspiration story for most of us. And while you're speaking, so you just mentioned about designer, developer, and tester. So
Yeah.
like what if you want to explain it in a single line or in a line of two to our audience, that what differentiates between these three designations, these three
Hmm.
roles?
Sure. Sure. So whenever you have to design a product now, or you want to launch a product, so very first a designer design a screen,
Okay,
then developer develops that screen. So that will be a dynamic page for which you can interact or perform our task, and then tester validate if it's working fine in all the screen or not, or all the browser or not. So once tester approved it, then we launch it for the real users. So
Okay.
these are all the roles for all three kind of presentation.
Okay. Thank you so much. Like I think designer plays the very initial role in the initial step of any
Sure.
organization.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for clearing our doubt in this matter. I think this will be somewhat, myth opener for most of us, because what we think earlier was that a developer comes first, then a
Uh,
designer is asked to design a particular protocol, but it is not
mhm.
so. So thank you so much. Moving ahead, like what exactly, is the difference between a UX designer and a web designer?
Mhm. So if you see, the role of designer evolved in last few years, couple of years. So when I started my journey in 2010, so I was a web designer. So a web designer just design the layouts and sometimes convert it to the HTML and CSS, which is a front end development.
Okay.
So nowadays, the role has evolved so much, and as a UI UX designer, you have take care of end-to-end solution for your user. I mean, you have to do the user research to find out the insight and what best solution you can identify through your digital design by knowing your user. So once you know your user and understand their problem, then you jump into design. In web designer, I mean, you directly jump into the designing the mockups or layout and hand it over to the developer. So once you start designing the layout, you can again go to your users. You can check the feedback. What is their first at the looking at the first glance, what they feel. I mean, it is helpful for their or not. You can quickly get their feedback, and after doing two iteration on it, you can pass it to the developer to develop. And once developer develop it, you can conduct UAT and launch it for the user. And then you can rate the behavior of the user pattern, how they are using, and what results you were expecting you have received or not. So basis of those learning, you can further iterate on the next phase and improve it more.
Okay. Oh, I
So
see.
this
Like
was the entire role of UI design.
absolutely. So I think earlier I used to think that there could be thin line difference between both of these roles, but
Hmm.
actually it was not right. So
Yes,
there is a
yes.
complete different roles and responsibilities of a web designer as well as the UX designer.
Sure.
Okay. And what about Himanshu? So what about the user interface that we hear about? Like
Yeah.
UI, UX are two different terms. So
Yes, yes.
you have explained us the UX. What is UI?
So UI is referred as user interface. It's a
Okay.
part of UX. Okay?
Okay.
UX is end-to-end journey, and in between you see a phase where you have to design UI for your users. Okay. So these are the visual designs which actually visible or useful for the user who will be using that UI. So this is a part of UX, I can say.
Okay. Okay, understood. That's really great. I think you have cleared most of us, our problems like related to the designing context. So I
Mhm.
think now we are good to start to hear about your roles and responsibilities as a designer, as a senior product manager into the designing line at Oyo. So can you
Mhm.
please let us know about your roles and responsibilities?
Sure, sure. Mhm. So I work on merchant side application for our patrons. So patrons are our hotel partners, and we design solution for that. So we identify opportunity for the patrons, ki how they can earn maximum revenue from their hotel. So
Okay.
we identify, take insights and provide ideas to our patrons. Just take this step, and you can earn that much of revenue.
Okay.
So we design solution for that, and we have another charter as a consumer, which designed for consumer platform. The Oyo app people generally use to book their next accommodation. So those guys work on those, and we work on the merchant side application.
Okay.
So in terms of responsibility, the entire process which I said to you a few minutes back for UX designer, that is the same. It's a very detailed process, and once we get the project requirement document, we say PRT, then we discuss it with product manager and start our design, and then do the user research wherever required or skip it if it's not required, and then finalize it and launching to the user. So these all steps are taken care for each project, and we work on it accordingly.
Okay, I think that is something a comprehensive task. So this is
Yeah.
yeah, this is not a simple task. Although designing by its name seems to be a bit interesting and quite less of work. So is it so?
Mhm.
No, not entirely.
It's very interesting, but I say it's very challenging also. Uh,
Right, right.
because I feel while I was in service-based company, so
Yeah.
my job was to just designing the layouts and get it approved by your clients, and your job is done. But when you work in the product-based company, you are responsible for your each decision you have made while designing your solution. So sometime it will work, sometime it will not work, and not
Okay.
give results according to what you have expected. But those are all the learning, and I think your decision you have made while designing your solution is very important in this time.
Absolutely. I totally agree to that. I think, we are good to go to hear about, the skills required to become a designer and or to
Hmm.
enter into the designing line. So like I think the main myth that we have is, we are stuck in few of the things like do programming language, like knowledge into the programming language is utmost important to become a designer, or it is like we can also have a different path to become one designer.
Hmm. So being a designer, I don't think there is specific rules or specific programming language knowledge you require. But if you have some programming knowledge like JavaScript, jQuery, or HTML, CSS, it will be helpful for you while you will design the layouts. Then you can judge how much extra CSS or how much extra HTML code you have to write for particular this widget. So this is always helpful, but it's not mandatory. You should have programming languages.
Okay.
But once when you have to start your design career, you should be aware about design tools like Figma and Sketch, or whatever tool you prefer to design.
Yeah.
And you should have your fundamentals clear for the both UI and UX fundamentals.
Okay.
There are a couple of UI principles, and there are a couple of UI laws.
Okay.
So you should be aware about those all knowledge, and the vast number of I say knowledge and videos are available on internet. So you should go through it before starting the career.
Okay. So I think it is not necessary to have few knowledge in the programming languages, but definitely quite helpful
Yep.
in
Yes.
some ways.
It will be add on. It will improve your logical
Okay.
ability.
Okay. Okay. And what precisely, like you said, HTML or .ca, CS and another things. So,
Hmm.
like, is it restricted to those languages that you just mentioned, or like they can pursue any language also?
Uh, uh, I said HTML, CSS because those are used for designing your front end
Okay.
layout. So once you design your layout, then you give it to the front end developer. So they write code in HTML, CSS to convert those pages in browser friendly pages. So and after converting it to HTML, CSS, you can use Java or PHP or any kind of language which will make it dynamic to perform certain tasks.
Okay.
So PHP and Java, those are completely different languages. And if you want to become a developer, then you have to study that thoroughly,
Right.
or
Right.
you can be good with HTML, CSS, and other design tools only.
Right. Now I understood. Like it's the very first initial step of the designing part of any organization. Then designing makes the layout and send it to like senior, software development engineering line, and they
Yes.
do have to they have to know the few programming languages that has to be must in order to create the layout and to complete the layout, and then the testing line comes in the picture.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for giving this much clarity to all of us, and I'm sure
Hmm.
this video will be so much helpful to the designing as aspiring people. So definitely, if they're liking this video, just hit on the like button and don't forget to share the video to your belongings. Now, Himanshu, so like let's talk about some other domains. Like definitely, the designing part will the designing team will be like working closely with other teams also in the organization. So,
Yes.
let's take a picture example of marketing line. So, marketing and designing goes hand in hand. So, like, what's your suggestion if a marketer or a marketing interested person is watching this video and also have an interest into the designing line, but does not want to leave the marketing as in career? So, do you
Hmm.
believe that having a good knowledge, having some certifications done into the UX designing part, and makes him or her excel in his or her career domain? So is it possible to for a marketing guy to understand the US design, and it may be an add-on advantage for a marketing person to excel in his career?
Hmm. So I guess very first thing you should have expertise in one field only, whether you
Okay.
go in marketing or you go in actual product design.
Okay.
So you cannot move in both two fields
Okay.
simultaneously. But having knowledge of a nearby domain is definitely helpful. And if you see a marketing guy, I am sure marketing guy is very creative and they have very good communication skills. Those all traits will be very helpful if they want to move in the product design. And
Okay.
product design also need creative solution, but some other aspect of UX design are also important. So they have to go through those aspects first and then start their career in the UX design. But there is no foundation. Product design guy can move to the marketing. Marketing can also move to the vice versa.
Understood. Okay, thank you so much, for clearing it out. So now, considering the time constraint that we do have, and also your time commitment at OYO, so we would ask you, the last but not the least question here. So, what could be the possible, advices that you want to give to your juniors who are currently watching this video in order to
Hmm.
get themselves placed at such companies into the designing line?
Hmm. So, if you want to make career in design field, so who are fresher or in final years in their college, so I ask them to do practice a lot, do design daily, take challenges of daily design, and just copy the good UI and paste it in your favorite design tool, and just clear out their basic fundamentals. Just understand the basic color theories, color contrast, and how to create harmony and making the UI visually balanced. Uh, and then understand about the UX laws and all the principle and how to use them.
Okay.
So just clear out these basic fundamentals and be aware about the design tool. And practice is the only thing which will sharpen your skills and improve your overall crafting skills. So do practice more and more. Have a mentor in who is already established in design industry. There are so many platforms where you can find a mentor.
Okay.
So one example is ADP list. If anyone wants to connect with me one on one, he can book a slot on ADP list. I will help you out if you have any doubts on you need any guidance. So have a mentor. It's very important. They will guide you through a path because they have already followed that path, and the mistakes which they did, you can avoid, or another good suggestions they can give you to fasten your design career. So these two are main important.
Okay. I think that could be, the possible golden advice from a designer to the fellow aspiring designers. So thank you so much, Himanshu sir, for getting on board with all of us and, training or educating your personal insights about the journey, about, the experience that you had, about all the learnings that you have gathered through overall, your number of years of experience into the designing line to the fellow mates is something that is commendable. So thank you so much for getting on board with all of us. And Grow Junction takes pleasure hosting a personality like you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chandan. Pleasure.